Are we ready, VJ, or you need?
Oh, yes, we
Okay.
are. We are ready. So thank you so much, Nate, for agreeing to do this particular session and your interest in doing so. And also, I would like to thank you so much with your profile that you actually bring in a lot of knowledge, especially on the agility. You being a professor into Berkeley University, right? Is that right?
Berkeley and Caltech, that is correct.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And Nate has been teaching agile project management since at least for 5 years now, right?
Probably more like 15, but that's okay.
15. Oh, yeah. Sorry for that. Okay. So that's a great knowledge that we have along with us. And he's also been teaching other topics like less. And he's really, really great at it, especially with his teaching style, especially with his enthusiasm after these many years of experience that really touched me. I see very rare people who has such a enthusiasm for agility as a topic. And after these many years of teaching, so that's really great. So I would like to welcome you, Nate. Thank you so much. And yes, you're live.
Okay. All right, welcome everybody. How you doing today? I welcome you from beautiful Southern California. I live out near Los Angeles on a place called Rancho Palos Verdes, which is out on the peninsula, which has beautiful views of the area, which I can't see because it's really early for me right now. But it's my honor to call and talk to you on the topic here. So the topic I want to talk about is a way of addressing agility at an enterprise level. It is a framework of making decisions to help you formulate your strategy for going forth and doing it. So I kind of put a kind of cool name to it. It's a discipline agile. A lot of people refer to this as a decision-making tool. So I said, discipline agile, where it's cool to be a tool. So it has various sets of tools here to help you make some decisions in a facilitated session here that I'd like to introduce you with. So let's get started here in our discussion. Why are we here today? Why is this important? Well, most of us here are on the line here because we are passionate about agility. And one of the things we want to do is find in some way, large, small, or medium, is to delight the customer with value-added solutions by leveraging agility, by going through and incrementally getting them to a solution that best solves their problem. And we are about that here today. But also, sometimes we got to understand we have to achieve some demanding clients sometimes, right? So we look at this cartoon here. We probably have been here before where we had a situation where a client tends to be not to be as flexible as they ask us to be as we go forth and answer questions. Now, as we look at this space here, we deal with several levels of complexity around the problems we look at it. We're looking at insurance systems, finance systems, operation systems here along the way that are large with embedded systems, many different partnerships, complex stakeholder relationships here, legacy systems that you need to interface with, requirements in many different levels. Sometimes agility is a good answer. Sometimes they're so entrenched in waterfall that trying to get to be agile is a real big problem. So we need to go find ways of getting to an answer for this. Also, as we're transforming organizations, and if you are familiar with the reinventing the organization, we try to take organizations from toxic red or we're command and control organizations to elevate them to higher forms of organization to ultimately up to a teal organization, but realizing this is going to be a struggle. You're going to have to take them through resistance and a path back up to a new status quo along the way. How do we do this? Well, we come up with solutions here that come up with very structured ways of coming up with this, that has ways of taking agility in small teams to do the development, but also rolling that up to program levels of development by many different strategies here, if we choose to at that level, and then eventually rolling that up to a portfolio level where we look at having a lens to be able to look at agility from an entire organization standpoint. Now, this is a picture here from Dean Leffringwell. Myself, I just want to let you know, I am agnostic when we talk about this topic of business agility. I am not a I am in favor of safe or less or disciplined agile. My goal here is to satisfy the customer's objective by many different ways here. But ultimately, if we're talking about an enterprise scale solution, we probably have to have these components in here to get our problem solved. We also then need to figure out those requirements with that roadmap that takes us from the customer problem all the way up into small size, bite-sized elements of value that we develop and build in small teams, and then roll that back up into an entire large solution here. So understanding how to come up with these multi-level backlogs, those of us who Agile refer to as our requirement repository, and make sure that they're linked in a way that shows the value generation and a roadmap of getting there. Also, we have a bevy of tools of collaboration that helps us get here on how to initiate, how to get do our application development, how to test, how to set up DevOps, how to come up with a production environment. Again, this is many, many decisions that we have to make. That's why they pay us the big bucks, right? Because we have, through experience, found out ways of getting this. But what if we had a technique that kind of helped us with these decision makings with the client, something that you could talk through and collaboratively come up with an approach we could agree upon and see it as it evolves. So here, this is where I say disciplined agile is a toolbox for decision making that you should consider using on a regular basis. So disciplined agile is a scaled agile decision making framework, putting the individual first here. It's a lightweight guidance to help with those facilitated discussions on how we make the individual decisions of how we do work, what life cycles we use, what kind of governance we want to have along the way, and what kind of organization we want to be. And it allows us to have facilitated discussions around topics with supporting information showing the pros and cons along the way. Now, the way disciplined agile is organized, there is life cycles of doing development, which we call DAD. There is a DevOps environment on how we want to structure the organization as far as doing delivery of the functionality or a continuous integration and development pipeline. There is a disciplined agile environment that we do and establish on top of that for an organization. And then if you choose to actually have a fully agile organization, there is a disciplined agile enterprise for business agility if you choose to. You can scale to whatever level that you want to. And what disciplined agile does, it takes the best practices of many different types of agile frameworks and allows you to combine them. And this may even sound like heresy to some of you, it even combines in waterfall if you need that. But just hold on there, don't jump off the line, stick with me a little bit. So where did this come from? Two gentlemen, Scott Ambler, you probably heard of him. He was the father of agility modeling in a lot of different areas, and Mark Lines. Both of them came up with an approach when the whole topic of scaling agility from the small teams to larger ones, they came up with an approach that they worked initially in Disciplined Agile 1.0. It had a way of doing inception of work. It talked about the construction, development of it, and then transitioning it out into the user environment. I would say, and this is just based on the numbers, not my opinion, other scale agile techniques became more popular than this initial offering here. But it was a sound way of looking at it. It just didn't catch on fire until they've made some adjustments here recently when they started talking about it with respect to the way of work or the wow of how to get things done. So let's go and dive into this a little more deeply. So this one, Agile, is agnostic. In other words, they don't say this is our framework. They say pick the best framework for you. Take the best pieces of many different kinds of frameworks and combine them together to your framework. Do it your way along the way. But it has to be done in a certain way. Those of us that know that in agility, when you do this matchmaking type of a strategy here, it needs to be done in a mindful way so that it doesn't fall apart and break, that it holds together with some kind of structure or tackiness so that we can sustain it. So what the Disciplined Agile does, it goes through and looks at Disciplined Agile, DevOps, Scrum, SAFe, PMI's way of doing project management, waterfall, again, agile data modeling, and looks at your problem and says, what pieces of each one of these or a whole of all of these do we need to solve a unique problem? So they go through, and in order to start, like anything else, in order to get going here within Discipline Agile, like any of our other activities, there is a mindset change. So there is a set of tools and activities. We could do them, and we'll be pretty good at that. But to really go through and become excellent at this is that you have to have a mindset change. How can we make agility work? It's about being agile within this framework and establishing your mindset along with as you go through your journey of agility here. So it has principles, it has promises, and has guidelines. And we're going to touch on some of these. Some of these things is probably hard to argue with, right? Delighting the customer, right? No one can really argue with that. Be awesome. Got to be awesome every day and show it. Show that agility is something that comes out of your pores that you want to have. Context counts. So you'll need to understand the context. How big, how large, how small is your organization? Be pragmatic. Don't be so stuck into a way of doing things that you can't adjust and be flexible. Choices are good. Always look at optimizing the flow, organizing around work, and have an enterprise awareness or a system awareness of how this all fits together and work. We also need to have promises or agreements to make sure we have a efficient way of operating, creating psychological safety where transparency is embraced. We want to accelerate value generation. We always want to have constant incremental delivery of value to our customers. We want to collaborate proactively, have workflows set up here, and be mindful of our workflows and continuously improving a lot of your standard Agile manifesto concepts. We also then we have guidelines of validating the learning, using disciplined thinking, attending to our relationships all the way through, have effective environments to foster not just only delight, but joy as you're doing it. We should be having fun. Work should not be drudgery as we do this. We need to have semi-autonomous, self-organized teams. You have to realize as you start scaling up, we can be self-organizing to a point, but then we need to compromise to grow and work efficiently together here. And then look at adopting measurements of improvement and leveraging the assets of the organization to become better, to execute and deliver here. So these are our founding mindset principles that we think about. Now, this seems like a busy chart, but it does relate back to what we talked about before. The blue area is if you choose to be the light blue area is if you choose to have an entire discipline agile IT organization. And the lines that you see here, basically, those are the choices you'll be making along the way to make sure this roadmap works for you. There's a discipline DevOps internally here about those business enterprise architectures that you'll be working within, those architectural runways that you'll be establishing, and its composition will be chosen by you. And then another great thing that I really find at the core is that there is several delivery life cycles to support many different types of activities that you would do here, and we'll talk about that later on. So again, this all feeds into a nice decision-making framework that you can just go through and have facilitated discussions amongst yourselves to make decisions in all these areas. Now, as Mark Line and Scott Ambler came up with this, they focus on three basic areas of delivery: the inception, the collection of the requirements coming into the system, and the initiating of the team. Then there was a set of constructs on how you would get things constructed along the way, and then how we transition out into operations. And then we have several decision trees in these three categories here of delivery. And on top of that, overarching of just general operations of keeping the lights on, there was things that we know that needs to happen for us to continually grow. Evolving our wow, growing our team members, the coordination, leveraging existing infrastructure here, governance, and addressing risk. These are overarching things that need to be addressed in order for us to function effectively and make good decisions that will lead to those exciting decisions for our customers. Now, here's a diagram of what we're talking about in evolving the wow, the way we work. So this is taking this with your customer in hand, and you go through and make every decision together by coming up with a set of options. So we look here, organizing our physical environment. Are we going to have a dedicated co-located team? Do we have to have near locations? Do we have cubicles? Can we change that to another situation? Now you can have a combination of entities, and it allows us to have a discussion about each to make the decision. Choosing our communication style, face-to-face. What are we going to do virtually? What about conference calls, phones? Let's set all our standards up here of how we communicate. Choosing our collaboration style. And then it also gives you an extensive list of life cycles that you can choose from, including waterfall if you still need to do that to make your solution work. You'll talk about value stream analysis, how to tailor our ways of tailoring things. And then we would go through here and look at ways of improvement, our strategies for reuse, organizing our tools to make sure we all have a common set of tools and we understand how to get things done. Also, share improvement. We even have a section here for innovation. We're talking about hackathons and lean coffee sessions such as this, blogs and word of mouth to help us evolve. All these things are mindfully thought of and planned and not just emerging out of thin air. This has us to go through and to evolve our way of working in a way with the customer so they can see the growth that comes from this. Now, as we go through and look at one of these options, you look at an option here. Let's say we were talking about each one, deployment testing here. We see each option that we have here tells you what the option is. It shows you the trade-offs. It shows you some of the downstream issues that you need to look at, such as testing, life cycles and fixing, and sustaining of the solution. So there's a laundry list of information that you can pull up and show the customer as you're making these facilitated discussions along the way. Now, another thing here, and again, as you go through and talk about the development of how you get things done inside the organization, sometimes you have a decision on how the business model of how we get things done, how we organize people, how we pass data around, our security profile, the tools. And a lot of this is to make sure that we don't have redundancies in systems, or we have the right system or the right options available for us. We have strategies on how we deal with our vendors as partners, any legal issues in contracting, because sometimes contracting in agility can be an issue. All these elements are taken in consideration in these process blades. And also on top of that, those principles, our founding principles of our mindset, are also part of this business model founding blade here. And we decide, what our principles, our promise, our guidelines, our level of agility, our roles and responsibilities, and team members. All of this is our business model of how we work together, and we mindfully come together with this. Now, it's not a one-time all solution, too. It is an evolving situation. So at key points of the activity, we revisit this and we evolve the wow in order for us to continually be better for our organizations. Now, another thing that we take in consideration, and I know a lot of us who've been in this area of development for a while, we think about this and understand the complexity. But here we have a tactical scaling exercise that goes through with your customer, talking about the geographic distribution, the technical complexity of the solution, the domain, whether are we in chaos or in straightforward environments, the organizational distribution, whether it is a life-critical system, financial system, or ongoing concern. These are things that we need to know, because this is the environment that our solution needs to operate on, and to make sure that we have planned to create or to author or architect an environment where we can lay our solution on so that it can effectively use it. We need to have a discussion around all these dimensions and make a marking on here exactly where you are. So you have a facilitated discussion where you would go through and say, my team is 100 members here, and we are global. We are We're outsourced primarily in our organization. These are financial systems that we look at. We have multi-platform legacy systems here, and it's very complex. And then when we join these networks together here as a footprint, that gives us a sense of where we're operating at to get things done. And it gives everybody a same understanding of this environment area. Now, you probably do this organically right now, but this goes through and helps for you to be mindful so you can track and build on it based on your findings here of this discussion. Now, let's go into another area that I really find exciting about DAD is that it has many different life cycles. One that is talks about delivering a complex embedded system from the beginning to the end, where we come up conceptually with the requirements, whether those be features, whether those be stories, and then we go through and intake it in and decide how we're going to do this, how many teams it needs to do it, how many teams we need to break it up into. And then we go through the process of building it in iterations and construction. And from there, you're delivering the activities along the way. And like I said, we're going through a release in our solution here at some point, iteratively to a customer. And then we have a operating and support function. And at some point, realizing the system has a life of value delivery, but it also will be end of life at some point. So we have a mindful way of looking at decommissioning some of these complex systems. This could be for radar system, for satellite systems, or for ships, or for operations, or some of your systems within your organization may follow this path. This is one path, but not the only path for DAD, because they allow for the flexibility of other types. They also allow for a continuous delivery environment. If you are somebody like Intuit that is coming up with TurboTax and has a product that needs to be continually evolved, or Microsoft, or any of those tool generating systems that are just continually in a production environment developing systems, there is the construction area focus delivery cycle of delivering value here that we could do here for agility here, that you could pick yourself here, that melds very well with that type of orchestration and development. You also have a continuous lean environment. Say that you just want to be lean and look at efficiencies of work. It may be about processes of doing trouble ticket processing. It could be about pushing out software to sites here. There is a way of having a case, a business case for this, a Kanban board of work that are normal work, standard work, and expedited work that could work through this as a lean Kanban work activity that doesn't require any development. It's just a series of similar activities that need to be done in an efficient, agile way. Now, also, too, if we have a model, if we're in that lean startup type of capability where you need to explore and look at an MVP of a system before you decide on making a selection of it, it has an exploratory path that allows for you to come up with a hypothesis statement with its acceptance criteria and go through and have your development team come up with a MVP that you test out in the marketplace. And if you get good traction, you decide to go forward with this. If not, you pivot to a new solution where you come up with another hypothesis. This is, those of you that are familiar with Eric Ries's lean startup concept, this is one process activity that supports doing that development within a framework of exploration along the way, if that's what you choose to do for your client. Now, I've talked about these various frameworks and decisions here, but let's talk about the people for a second here. So as we go through here and look at it, there is your major team, there is your team members, there's a lead, there's an architect owner, and there is a product owner. I'm going to explode the team. I'm going to talk more about the team lead in a second, but I'm going to explode the product owner because they are the main owner of value generation. And then we have our stakeholders. Now, if needed, depending on the size, you can have a supporting team of specialty areas such as legal and marketing, domain analysis that you need to bring in occasionally, technical experts, integrators, and independent testers that may be doing some back-end productization testing after your solutions have been involved. These are all roles that you can have. But when we go back here and look at this team lead role, a lot of the times when we look at Scrum, one of the things that some of my customers had problems with, they said, well, gee, this is a role that has to be a coach only and can't make any decisions. Ooh, I need somebody that can kind of guide the team, because that self-organization sounds nice, but every once in a while they need to have some kind of like guiding and measuring along the way. Here we call a team lead with scalable decision making. You can scale the decision levels of this lead to what's appropriate to your circumstances, from a Scrum Master from no to one that requires more direction. And sometimes with our government clients, that is very important along the way. So these are the roles here. Now I'm going to talk about next the role of our product owner. Now our product owner is a value maximizer in this process. They need to work with the client with a listening ear, understanding what the problem is, and coming up with solutions that work for them, and then pass those on as stories or features to a team to get things done, either as a single product focus or a value stream of multiple deliveries along the way. And they are a person here that we elevate up here. We put a cape on them in this situation because they are there passing the value discussion onto team members, allowing them to understand what's going on and making it more real from a business standpoint for them to deliver. So this is a chief product owner role that is allowed to be embedded underneath of this discipline agile role. And it's not that far off from the product role of most of your frameworks. This is just a different spin that kind of shows you the scalability of that role. Now, also another news concept, and it's talked about favorably a lot, is value streams. Well, we have value stream analysis is something that we do to make sure that the value stream happens. Within the discipline of discipline agile, that maybe sounds a little redundant, but it's kind of what I'm trying to get to. They allow models within a collaborative board, mural, where you can go and lay out your business model from portfolio to the product development, your intake, your operations, and you could go through here and analyze this with the customer. And then as you're analyzing this with the customer, they can go through here with you in a facilitated discussion and earmark areas of problems where they're having. So they can show visually where you're having a problem. And then one person say, I have a problem here. Another person may say, yeah, I'm having a problem there too, but that's also related with another area down here in our portfolio management. So it allows us to visually see in a flow where problems happen. Not only here, we also would talk about some of the problem areas here. We also may talk about some positive areas that we're doing well along the way. So we can color code our various areas in the process flow and evaluate them and help us understand where we need to develop the entire system differently or to go through and to make changes along the way. Now, there's also this value stream consultant that is a role that is an advanced role within Discipline Agile. Another role is a Discipline Agile consultant, but they use this technique to talk through in facilitated fashion with the customer, going through and allowing us to figure out how to best generate value by the existing system they already have or the one that they want us to work with them in partnership to generate. Now, what does that bring it all to? By using all these tools, now we can now work with the customer. And then we can have a facilitated discussion on what's your need, what's the problem, what's the opportunity, what's the regulatory issue that you're dealing with. And through that, we could use some of these frameworks to come up with the ways of operating, and then we can helps us have a facilitated strategy with measurements along the way. And then we would come up with items that would go into our portfolio for delivering functionality in a timely fashion for them. That comes with a roadmap that has a flow or a vision of delivery that feeds into our product team that will be intimately focused on how to develop these incremental products to deliver things in what we call a minimum viable increment of value. They may be brought down to a program management level or a large project level, And then we have consumable solutions that the customer can see at the system level on a regular basis. And after getting concurrence that this is the right components, build together in a release management system that we keep under operations. And in the core of this, our operating philosophy will have a set of tailored governance, enterprise architecture, security decisions, data management, support, and continuous improvement. Ultimately, to get us to a point where we're maximizing value constantly for our customer. And I think that's what we all want to do here as Agilists. Now, with that said, we can step back and say, well, how can you get this stuff, Nate? I'm excited. I'm ready to go. Well, if you are, there are many different choices here of getting this through education. There is the Agile Certified Practitioner, which is a basic training class. There's also the Discipline Agile Scrum Master class that can be taught here. Discipline Agile Senior Scrum Master that takes it to a high level. These are basic functions that can be taught here. I myself am certified to teach that. So I guess with VJ and Manju, if you are interested in that, and we could form a way of delivering this out for you under this wonderful organization, AgileWaters. Now, there are more advanced topics here. I evolved to, I have to pass a couple more tests, but this value stream analysis and culture are more advanced roles of using this in a more strategic level. But I'm emerging on that. I'm working in my journey to become better at that and possibly be able to help you that in the future. Now, with that said, there is some reference documents here. There is a book out that you can get from Amazon that's called Choose Your Wow. There's also another book out here called The Executive's Guide to Discipline Agile. So distill this down to executives on how can I make and exploit this to add instantaneous value incrementally in my organization. And then there's a more leaner version of this book to look at. Also, if you follow the PMI certification, they will give you a background on the various descriptions of certifications, or clearly, if you need more information, you can reach out to me via my email on the first slide. So let's say I'm Nate Cruz. This has been a pleasure for me to talk with you over this period of time. Hopefully I gave you some knowledge or something to think about. I am a practitioner and an evangelist of agility. Love it. I also am a lover of project management too, and the waterfall, because that is still a sustainable solution. I'm about giving the customer the best solution for them. I teach at many different levels. I can be a coach at many different levels, certified to coach to be at executive level, organizational development, team, and then also down to the individuals here. I would invite you to go out to LinkedIn and see what certain people have said about me. I have a few listed here. I have 3 partnerships. I work as a member of the faculty of the University of California, Berkeley Extension. I also am a senior technology instructor for Caltech, where we also have executive programs where we bring in executives to talk about digital transformation, if you're interested with that. I have a relationship where I teach SAFE for this one organization, Silicon Tech. We could clearly teach that for AgileWaters as we grow our relationship. And at some point, I guess I would love to, I believe I can add on AgileWaters at some point here as a partner that I'm very proud to start working with soon. So that's me. And I want to stop at this point. And first of all, thank you for that. But are there any questions? So I open it up to you to speak and ask me questions on anything that I have covered here this morning. And I turn it back over to you, VJ. I don't know if you want me to facilitate this, or do you want someone else to do this? What's the rules on this?
Yeah, you can facilitate it.
Okay,
No
so
do we have some questions?
Thank you so much. It was a great presentation.
Yes.
We see you've covered all aspects of Agile, whether it's technology, tools, the discipline itself. We see your passion in what you do. So thank you.
Thank
We are
you.
getting there too. Yeah, we are also working in agile environments. But like you said, sometimes we have to go with what the organization says. It's not about what you do. You have to just go and see at what level they are, and tailor-made them, and not get too caught up into the disciplines itself, but push the project forward. Yeah, that is also important.
Okay. So that was just a comment. No questions? Well, thank you. Thank you for the great comments. I know sometimes with the customers, as I said, we have demanding clients, and some of them say they want to be flexible, but sometimes they try to bend our will to them. And then what a friend of mine that I heard recently, I kind of like it. It's called lipstick agility, right? I just want to wipe it on and tell everybody that we're agile, but really underneath, we're still doing the same thing because it seems advantageous out in the marketplace, but they really don't want to change down at the core where this really is here. Sometimes, I guess a comment I would say on that, you have to have what I consider to be in a negotiating situation, a BATNA. There's certain customers that you may too, and I know from financially, this is probably heresy, but there's some certain clients you need to walk away from, because if they're not willing to change, we're wasting each other's time. And all you're going to be frustrated and maybe even take the excitement away from your glow as an agile change agent. So until they're ready, sometimes you may have to step away and let them figure out, hey, let me come back and work with somebody here with a little bit more of an open mind. Anybody else with any questions? You want to speak up along the way here? I guess I'll.
Hello, Nate. This is Srijit here. First of
Welcome.
all,
How you doing?
very good presentation. I thoroughly enjoyed and learned quite new concepts based on your talk. Thank you for that. I have one quick question. Is there an assessment framework associated with discipline agile delivery?
There is not one that's been established now. I think that's of a topic nature right now. Rolling that out as a set of methodologies and getting this work is not so. Matter of fact, that's something that I probably need to raise up in the next working group and get some more information. I am not aware of the model of maturity here along the way. There are other agile maturity models. As I said, it's a hybrid framework on top of the best practices of other frameworks.
Is it?
Could somebody mute the line there, please?
A gift मिला है, हाँ.
Hold on 1 second. All right, so it is a hybrid framework on top of many other frameworks. So if other frameworks have an existing maturity model, you can use that until there's one that is appeared for discipline agile, I would say, is my recommendation to date. Okay?
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So Nathan, the other question is,
go ahead, Margaret.
What kind of tools do you recommend from your experience? We've been using Jira exclusively, but we need to put on so many add-ons like advanced roadmap, and so from your experience, what would be the best tool for agile managed projects?
Well, I mean, I don't want to necessarily say the best. Why don't I kind of give the opinions of things that I kind of like and gravitate to because of the value proposition they deliver. Okay. Now around Jira, now it is true if you take Jira in its native state, the benefit of that is it's scalable. So I can do anything from like almost something so small as my weekend task list on in Jira, all the way up to a pretty large size project and having add-ons as they go along. But also, I don't know if you're aware of this, Margaret, there's Agile Aligned that's more for a scaled environment that has most of those major pieces that you need involved already embedded in it. That would maybe a better solution for you to do if you're doing more enterprise work that you have to add things on. Okay.
So the tool's name is Agile Aligned?
Agile Aligned, right. Under Atlassian Suite, there is Agile Aligned.
Oh, now also Atlassian. Okay, got it. Okay.
Now, also, there is version 1. Version 1 is one that if you want to know the Cadillac or the Bentley or the Mercedes that has everything you want to see as far as viewpoints and brainstorming, value flow analysis all embedded into it, but it in itself is a huge investment. It is very expensive to do, but it's hard not to have everything in there. Now I'm going to say some things you probably think is heresy. Microsoft Project and versions of it from 2019 forward, if you buy it as a service, has views in there of tools that you can go and you can look at it by flipping the view from Scrum or Agile to where you're looking at the Kanban boards and flipping it to see Gantt charts and resources and dollars and cents if you want to by changing the view.
Okay. Didn't know
Then
that.
also there's another tool called Now the list of tools goes on and on. Another one, Handsoft, is another one that allows me to have a view of agility within the space of the Kanban boards, but sometimes the business still looks at things within Gantt charts and roadmaps. So I can do a dual view within that tool itself here. Now, there's other, now I'm not discounting all the other ones. I could have an hour or 2 hour discussion on just tools itself, but I would say, let's look at it from the value proposition of what you want to do. Now, in your situation, Margaret, if you say the cost or the administration of doing add-ons is starting to be too cumbersome, look and see if Jira Align has all the things you want, and you can easily port your solutions into that and operate at an enterprise level. And putting that on top of your existing projects may be the solution and ease some of the pain that you have right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Thank you. Yes.
Anybody else? Any other questions? I got some. So again, if there's something I said here that you found interesting, thank you for some of the comments I've gotten so far. I appreciate that. Vijay Manju, thank you for the opportunity to speak within this crowd here to kind of get them introduced to who I am.
Nate.
And I look forward to working with you. Possibly if there's other topics I can talk about SAFe and anything else that you want me to talk about in the future here. This has been a pleasure. I enjoy it. But frankly, I'm going to go through after this, and this is early for me here in California, so I'm going to go back to bed as soon as we're done. But thank you for the opportunity to get up here and talk to you today.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Plus, every certification, same link.
Yeah.
And then you can also visit
Thank
our
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you
YouTube
very
channel.
much.
If you are interested in presenting some topic, please let us know. Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Thank
See ya.
you.
Good time.